A police officer's hand rested on my shoulder, firmly, stopping me. "You shouldn't look." I stared at my sister's house. The door was open. Crying came from inside. "My daughter's crying." "Why?" My voice didn't sound like my own. "What happened to my daughter?" The officer's face told me everything. Everything I needed to know. But didn't want to hear. If this had been 3 weeks ago, none of this would have happened. That day, I was preparing to go to Boston for a school exchange program. 5 years into my career as a music teacher, it was my first big opportunity. A 3-week program. But there was a problem. Who would watch my 5-year-old daughter, Sophia? I consulted my ex-husband James, but he had a business trip overseas for the same 3 weeks. We were divorced, but we cooperated when it came to Sophia. But this time, there was nothing we could do. That's when my sister Amy offered. "I'll take Sophia. I'd love to spend time with her." I hadn't seen much of Amy lately, but she was kind and had always relied on me. Whenever she was in trouble, she would always contact me. I thought I'd done my best to help her. "Really? That would be such a help." Amy smiled. "Sophia's adorable. I'm looking forward to spending time with her." There was just one thing that bothered me. Amy's boyfriend Kevin had scared me a little when I met him. He was unfriendly, with cold eyes. But Amy said, "Kevin's sweet. He says he likes Sophia." I believed those words. I wanted to believe them. 2 weeks ago, I made a video call from Boston. "Sophia, how are you?" Only Amy appeared on the screen. My sister looked tired. "She's sleeping. I don't want to wake her." Why was Amy so tired? But I didn't think deeply about it. 10 days ago, I called. "I'd like to talk to Sophia. She's playing outside right now. I'll call you back later." But the call never came. A week ago, I sent a text message. "Can I video call with Sophia?" Amy's reply, "She's at the park with Kevin. I'll have her call later." Again, the call never came. Anxiety began growing in my chest. But I told myself it was probably just that they were busy. Amy was my sister. She would never hurt my daughter. 3 days ago, I finally got to talk to Sophia. "Mama." My daughter's voice was small. It lacked her usual energy. "Are you okay? Are you having fun?" "Yeah." That was all. Sophia was usually much more talkative. Something was wrong. "Sophia, is something?" "Sorry, it's dinner time." Amy hung up immediately. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something was wrong. But what? Today, the 3-week program ended. I called Amy from the airport. No answer. I sent a text. It wasn't read. Anxiety turned to fear. I grabbed a taxi and headed straight to Amy's house. When I arrived at the house, I gasped. I knocked on the front door. No response. I knocked again, harder. Nothing. I took out the key Amy had given me. But it wouldn't go in the lock. The lock had been changed. Why? Why did Amy change the lock? I looked through the window. The living room was a mess. There were holes in the wall. Furniture was knocked over. My heart pounded hard. With shaking hands, I took out my cell phone and called 911. I can't get into my sister's house. I'm worried about my daughter. 10 minutes later, a patrol car arrived. Detective Sarah Chen got out of the car. A woman in her 40s with a calm demeanor. "Ms. Parker, what happened?" I explained the situation. That I'd left my daughter for 3 weeks, that I couldn't reach them, that the lock had been changed. Sarah knocked on the door. Police. Open the door. No response. Sarah got permission over the radio and broke down the door. And now, I'm standing at the entrance of my sister's house. The police officer's hand is on my shoulder. Ma'am, you shouldn't look. But I heard my daughter crying. I pushed past the officer and went inside. The inside of the house was worse than I'd imagined. The living room walls had several fist-sized holes. The sofa was torn, stuffing spilling out. The table was overturned, chair legs broken. It was like a storm had passed through. Looking at the kitchen, dishes were scattered across the floor. Shards of broken plates reflected the light. Dirty dishes were piled up in the sink. And on the refrigerator door, something brownish and discolored was splattered. It took a few seconds to realize it was blood. Ms. Parker, please wait here. I heard Detective Sarah's voice. But it didn't register. I could hear my daughter crying. Sophia was crying. I ran toward the back. Wait. With Sarah's voice behind me, I moved down the hallway. A bedroom door was half open. I could hear small sobs coming from inside. As I reached for the door, a young officer grabbed my arm. Ma'am, you shouldn't look. Why? I looked up at the officer. What happened to my daughter? The officer was at a loss for words. The look of pity on his face told me everything. I shook off the officer's hand and opened the door. In the corner of the room, a small shadow was huddled. It was Sophia. My daughter was sitting with her back pressed against the wall. Her pink dress was dirty with mud, torn in places. Her hair was tangled, as if it hadn't been washed in days. But what tore my heart apart most was her face. There was a large bruise on her left cheek. Her lip was split. The area around her right eye was swollen and discolored purple. And on her arm, there were 5 round bruises, as if someone's fingers had gripped her tightly. Sophia. My voice was shaking. My daughter flinched. She looked at me with frightened eyes. She didn't seem to recognize me. Sophia, it's Mama. I approached slowly. Like approaching a frightened small animal. My daughter curled up into a small ball. It's okay. You're okay now. When I reached out my hand, Sophia covered her face. As if waiting to be hit. That gesture shattered my heart. My daughter was afraid of me. Someone had taught my daughter to fear adults. Sophia, it's Mama. Don't be scared. You're safe now. I knelt down to her eye level. Slowly, gently, I kept calling her name. Then, Sophia's eyes focused. She recognized me. Mama. The moment I heard that small voice, my tears overflowed. Yes, it's Mama. I came to get you. Sophia's face crumpled. And my daughter broke down crying. I hugged her. Her body was so light. She'd lost weight since 3 weeks ago. Sophia clung to my neck and cried out loud. Mama, Mama, Mama. She repeated it over and over. As if that word alone was the only thread connecting her to reality. I held my daughter and stroked her back. I whispered over and over that she was okay now, that she was safe. From the hallway came another officer's voice. There's another one here. I looked up. Detective Sarah came out of the next room. And behind her, Amy appeared. My sister was also covered in injuries. Amy's face had large bruises. Her right cheek was swollen, her lip was cut. Her left arm was wrapped in bandages, blood seeping through her shirt sleeve. My sister was crying. When she saw me, her crying grew louder. Amy staggered over. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I stood up, still holding Sophia. Amy approached. My sister's eyes were red and swollen. I'm sorry. I couldn't do anything. Amy, what happened? My voice was calm. But inside, various emotions were swirling. Anger, confusion, and sympathy for my sister. Kevin, Amy said in a trembling voice. Kevin. My sister couldn't continue. She just broke down crying. Detective Sarah supported her. I've called an ambulance, Sarah said. They both need to go to the hospital. 15 minutes later, we were in the ambulance. Sophia was on my lap, trembling slightly. Amy was lying on another stretcher. My sister occasionally looked at me. Guilt and fear mixed in her eyes. When we arrived at the hospital, Sophia was immediately taken to pediatrics. Dr. Lisa Martinez examined my daughter. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes. But as she examined Sophia's body, her expression gradually became more severe. After the examination, Dr. Martinez called me into the hallway. Ms. Parker, her voice was low. This is abuse. I leaned against the wall. I knew. But when it was actually put into words, the weight of reality came crashing down. There are multiple contusions, Dr. Martinez continued. On her face, arms, back. And, she paused to choose her words. There are also traces of an old fracture. The bone in her left arm was broken about a week ago and healed naturally. A week ago. My voice shook. A week ago, I'd had a brief phone call with Sophia. At that time, my daughter's arm was broken, but she didn't say anything. No, she couldn't say anything. Who? I bit my lip. Who would do this? Dr. Martinez didn't answer. Instead, she placed her hand on my shoulder. Your daughter is a strong girl. But she needs time. And psychological care too. I nodded. That's all I could do, nod. When I returned to the hospital room, Sophia was sleeping in bed. She'd probably been given a sedative. My daughter's small face was covered with bandages and bruises. I sat in a chair and held her hand. Such a small hand. Someone had hurt this hand. I heard Amy's voice from the hallway. She was talking to Detective Sarah. I stood up and looked through the gap in the door. Kevin, Amy was saying through tears. He's been getting violent lately. Since when? Sarah asked. About 2 weeks ago. He was stressed from work. At first he took it out on things. Punching walls, throwing dishes. Did he hit you too? Amy nodded. He hit me too. But I couldn't escape. I was scared. Did he hurt Sophia too? Amy's voice caught. Sophia too. He started hitting her. I tried to stop him but, my sister covered her face. Kevin hit me. And he said if I told anyone, he'd do worse. I clenched my fists. Kevin. That man. That man with the cold eyes had hurt my daughter. Detective Sarah was calmly taking notes. Kevin Martinez, correct? Do you know his current whereabouts? I don't know, Amy shook her head. Last night, he went on another rampage. Then he left. He hasn't come back. Understood. We'll put out an alert immediately. Sarah began contacting people over the radio. I returned to the hospital room and held my daughter's hand again. Kevin. That name burned like flames of anger inside me. But at the same time, a small doubt sprouted. Something didn't quite add up. But I didn't know what yet. 2 days later, Kevin was arrested. Detective Sarah called at 8 in the morning. I'd spent the night next to Sophia's bed, barely sleeping. My daughter was tormented by nightmares, waking up several times. Each time, I held her and whispered that she was okay now. Ms. Parker, we've apprehended Kevin, Sarah's voice was calm. He was hiding in a friend's apartment. I see, I looked out the window. That's good. But it wasn't good. Nothing was good at all. Catching Kevin wouldn't make Sophia's injuries disappear. It wouldn't heal my daughter's psychological wounds either. He's denying it, Sarah continued. But we have sufficient evidence. Your daughter's testimony, the doctor's diagnosis, and your sister's testimony. I nodded. But no words came out. After Kevin's arrest, I visited Amy's hospital room. My sister was sitting on a bed by the window. The bruises on her face were starting to turn yellow. When she saw me, Amy began to cry. I'm so sorry. I sat next to my sister. Amy, you were a victim too. My sister nodded. I was scared. I was scared of Kevin. He was sweet at first, but then he suddenly changed. I hugged my sister. Amy cried on my shoulder. I cried too. But the reason for my tears was different from my sister's. I was crying with anger. And I was crying because something was nagging at me. But I still didn't clearly understand what it was. On the third day, I consulted Dr. Martinez. In Sophia's examination room, we were looking at my daughter's medical records. Doctor, I said. Could you show me Sophia's injuries in detail again? Martinez adjusted her glasses. Is something bothering you? Yes, I took a deep breath. I used to work for Child Protective Services. For 5 years, as a social worker. Martinez's eyes widened. I didn't know that. I've seen hundreds of abuse cases. So I know. Something's not right. We spread out the medical records. The locations of injuries were marked on a diagram of Sophia's body. I examined it carefully. 5 years of experience was whispering something to me. This injury, I pointed to a bruise on her arm. This is from an adult man's hand. Yes, Martinez nodded. From the size of the hand, it's estimated to be an adult male. But this injury, I pointed to a contusion on her back. This is different. Martinez frowned. What do you mean? The shape of this contusion. It's not a palm, it's a fist. But the size of the fist is, I narrowed my eyes. Small. For a man. Martinez reviewed the records. Then, slowly nodded. You're right. This could be a woman's fist. My heart beat faster. Doctor, were Sophia's injuries caused by 2 different people? Martinez stared at the records for a long time. Then answered. Yes. That's highly likely. Some from a male, some from a female. I stood up. A woman. Amy. No, surely not. My sister was supposed to be a victim too. But. Doctor, could I see my sister's injuries too? Martinez looked at me. Understanding and caution mixed in her eyes. Ms. Parker, what are you suspecting? I don't know yet, I answered honestly. But let me investigate. When I saw Amy's medical records, my suspicion turned to certainty. My sister's facial bruises. The angles were unnatural. The bruise on her right cheek was made by a right hand. But I'd heard Kevin was right-handed. When a right-handed person punches someone, they normally aim for the left cheek. And the arm wounds. The wounds under the bandages were shallow and parallel. As if someone had cut themselves with a blade. These are, I breathed in softly. Self-inflicted wounds. Dr. Martinez said nothing. But her silence spoke volumes. I left the hospital room and walked down the hallway. In my head, all the pieces were starting to come together. The reason Amy didn't answer the phone. The reason she avoided video calls. The reason she changed the lock. And my sister's injuries. But why? Why would Amy? My sister. I called Detective Sarah. Detective Chen, I have a request. Could I get permission to search my sister's house? Why? Isn't Kevin the perpetrator? It's a hunch, I looked out the window. But something's wrong. I worked at CPS for 5 years. I was trained to spot signs of abuse. Sarah thought for a moment, then answered. All right. I trust your instincts. The next day, I visited Amy's house with Sarah. The house was still a mess. But this time, I was looking with different eyes. The eyes I had when I worked at CPS. Abusers always leave evidence. Records, diaries, messages. They hide them somewhere. I started with the living room. Opening drawers, checking shelves. Nothing. Kitchen, bathroom. Nothing. I entered Amy's bedroom. The bed was neatly made. Family photos hung on the wall. Photos of me and my sister, with our mother. Everyone was smiling. I began to systematically search the room. Using the method I learned in CPS training. Abusers hide evidence in safe places. Places they think no one will look. Closet. Drawers. Behind the mirror. And under the bed. I knelt down and looked under the bed. In the dust, I could see a thin book. I reached out and pulled it. It was a diary. My hands trembled. I found it, I told Sarah. I opened the diary. On the first page was a date from 15 years ago. When Amy was 14. Mom chose Nicole. Because she's smarter, because she has more potential. What about me? I was left with Dad. Dad didn't want me. He just took me in because he had to. I turned the page. 10 years ago. Dad died. Nicole came to the funeral and left right away. Leaving me alone. The debt was $30,000. I paid it all. Alone. I turned more pages. 5 years ago. Nicole had a baby. Sophia. Mom's so happy. Sophia is so cute, she says. But when I visit, Mom asks, Amy, when are you getting married? Always comparing me. 2 years ago. Mom's will. Nicole gets $150,000. I get $50,000. The reason? For Sophia's education. Even in death, Sophia gets more than me. And 3 months ago. Nicole wants to leave Sophia with me for 3 weeks. This is my chance. I'll destroy her perfect life. If I break Sophia, Nicole will break too. I almost dropped the book. My hands were shaking so much I couldn't read the words. Ms. Parker, Sarah's voice came from far away. Are you all right? I couldn't nod. I just handed her the diary. Searching further, I found another cell phone hidden behind a drawer. I opened it. Messages with Kevin remained. A message from 2 weeks ago. She's crying again. I can't stand it. Just ignore her. I can't. Her voice reminds me of my sister. Perfect Nicole and her perfect daughter. Then you deal with it. I don't care. I will. I gripped the phone. Everything was a lie. Amy's tears. Her fear. All of it, an act. My sister had deliberately, systematically hurt my daughter. When I returned to the hospital with the evidence, something had changed inside me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was a cold, clear determination. The feeling I had when I confronted abusers at CPS for 5 years. But this time was different. This time, it was my sister. Detective Sarah recorded the diary and cell phone as evidence. Then she looked at me. Ms. Parker, you want to confront her? I nodded. Please record it. From the next room. Isn't it dangerous? I've faced abusers for 5 years, I took a deep breath. But this time is different. This time it's my sister. So I have to do it. Sarah thought for a moment, then nodded. All right. But if anything happens, I'm coming in immediately. I stood in front of Amy's hospital room. Behind the door, my sister should be sitting on the bed. I held the diary. Then I opened the door. Amy was looking out the window. She heard my footsteps and turned around. Then smiled. You came. Seeing that smile, I felt something clog my throat. I'd believed that smile for so many years. Amy, we need to talk. I sat in a chair. I still hadn't shown her the diary. What? About Sophia. Tears formed in Amy's eyes. I'm so sorry. I was scared and couldn't do anything. Don't lie. Amy's expression froze. What? I'm a former CPS worker, I said quietly. I've seen abusers for 5 years. Hundreds of them. The color drained from my sister's face. Your injuries, I continued. You made them yourself. The angles are unnatural. The bruise on your right cheek was made by your right hand. But Kevin is right-handed. What are you talking about? The arm wounds too. Shallow and parallel. A typical pattern of self-harm. I took out the diary. Amy's eyes went wide. And this? I opened the diary and showed it to my sister. Amy backed away. Your diary. 15 years worth. Hidden under your bed. Amy's voice shook. That's not mine. We'll confirm it with handwriting analysis, I said. And I found the phone too. Messages with Kevin. All of them. I took out the phone. I read the messages aloud. One by one. Amy's face turned pale. I suspected from the beginning, I said. Sophia's reactions. Your injuries. The content of the messages. So I investigated. Systematically. Using the methods I learned at CPS. And I found everything. The diary. The phone. The evidence. Amy said nothing. She just stared at me. Amy, I took a deep breath. Why? Why would you hurt Sophia? Silence continued. Long, heavy silence. Then, Amy laughed. A cold, dry laugh. A laugh I'd never heard before. Why? My sister looked at me. Are you seriously asking? In those eyes, there were no more tears. Instead, there was deep hatred. You don't understand anything. You never have. What? 15 years ago, when Mom chose between us, do you remember? Amy stood up. Nicole is excellent, she said. What about me? I'll leave her with Dad. I was the child who wasn't chosen. The leftover. But Amy, that was 10 years ago, when Dad died, what did you do? My sister's voice rose. You came to the funeral and left right away. I'm busy with work. I dealt with Dad's debt alone. $30,000 in debt. You didn't help me. I opened my mouth. Amy, I didn't know. Because you didn't ask for help. I did ask. Amy shouted. But you didn't listen. I called. I sent emails. But you were always busy. Sorry, I'm at work. Maybe next time. I'm busy, you understand, right? My sister's face twisted. And then Mom's inheritance. 150,000 versus 50,000. The reason? For Sophia's education. Again. Again, because of Sophia, I'm second. I stood up. But that doesn't mean you can hurt an innocent child. Innocent? Amy laughed. Sophia is the symbol of your perfect life. The grandchild Mom loved most. Something I could never have. Without Sophia, your life would be broken too. That's what I wanted. Fairness. I looked at my sister. I don't know this person. I thought I knew her. But these eyes full of hatred. This cold voice. You're insane. Insane? Amy shook her head. No. I just wanted fairness. If you get to have everything, I get to take everything away. I took a deep breath. I wiped away my tears. Then I looked straight at my sister. Amy, listen. My sister fell silent. You've been controlled by jealousy for 15 years, I said. Mom chose me. Dad died. The inheritance was unfair. It's all true. I didn't notice. But Amy. I took a step closer. You made choices. Every day for 15 years, you made choices. You could have asked for help. You could have talked to me. But you chose hatred. You chose revenge. And you hurt an innocent 5-year-old child. Amy opened her mouth, but no words came out. I worked at CPS for 5 years, I continued. I've seen hundreds of abused children. And every time I wondered, why do adults hurt children? Now I know. The answer is simple. Adults push their own pain onto children. But that's never, ever acceptable. Tears overflowed from Amy's eyes. This time they were real tears. I won't forgive you, I said clearly. Sophia won't forgive you either. But Amy. I learned something. I learned from you. My sister looked at me through her tears. What? What real family means. I took a deep breath. It's not blood. It's choice. Every day, choosing to love. Choosing to protect. Choosing kindness. You chose hatred. So you're not my family. Sophia is my family. James is my family. And I'll protect them. From you. Amy collapsed in tears. She fell to her knees. Please. But I didn't move. The door opened. Detective Sarah came in. Other officers were with her. Amy Parker, Sarah said. You're under arrest for child abuse, premeditated assault, and filing a false report. Officers handcuffed Amy. My sister couldn't stand up. Officers supported her. Amy looked at me one last time. Were we ever really sisters? I thought about that question for a long time. Then answered. I thought we were, my voice was quiet. But you threw away that choice 15 years ago. I turned my back on my sister. Goodbye, Amy. Officers took my sister away. The door closed. Silence returned to the room. I looked out the window. It was sunny outside. The sky was blue. The world kept turning as if nothing had happened. But my world had completely changed. I returned to Sophia's hospital room. My daughter was looking at a picture book in bed. When she saw me, she smiled slightly. Mama. I hugged my daughter. I vowed in my heart never to let go again. A year passed. Amy received a 12-year sentence. The diary and messages were decisive evidence. In court, my sister maintained until the end, I'm the victim. But the judge said calmly. You were controlled by jealousy for 15 years. But you hurt an innocent child. This is unacceptable. Kevin was also found guilty of child abuse, but it was revealed he didn't know about Amy's plan. His sentence was 5 years. Shorter than my sister's. I never once visited Amy. Never wrote a letter. I disposed of all letters from my sister without opening them. Sophia received intensive therapy. For the first 3 months, she suffered from nightmares. She woke up screaming in the middle of the night. But gradually her smile returned. 6 months later, she went back to school. Now, a year later, my daughter is laughing with friends. And today was Sophia's 6th birthday. In my house, a small party was ready. Sophia was playing with friends. Laughter echoed throughout the room. James came in carrying a cake. My relationship with my ex-husband had changed greatly over this year. We're not a married couple. But as Sophia's parents, we chose to protect our daughter together. And Detective Sarah, Dr. Martinez, and therapist Dr. Patel were also there. Today is a special day, I told everyone. Not just Sophia's birthday, but a day to thank everyone who protected her. Sophia shouted, "Mama, Papa, Sarah, Lisa, thank you everyone." Everyone clapped. Tears overflowed from my eyes. Happy birthday, Sophia. That night, as I put my daughter to bed, Sophia asked, "Mama, I had fun today." "I'm so glad." "Mama," my daughter thought for a moment, then said, "Will Aunt Amy come back?" I stroked my daughter's hair. "No. She won't come back." "Good. Because I was scared." "You're safe now. Mama will protect you." Sophia looked up at me. "Mama, I can't forgive Aunt Amy." "Is that bad?" I hugged my daughter. "No, Sophia. You don't have to forgive. You did nothing wrong. Remember that." "But Sophia, Mama learned something important from Aunt Amy." "What?" "That family isn't blood," I smiled. "Family is people who choose to love each other every day. Papa, Sarah, Lisa, Dr. Patel. They all chose us. So they're all our family." Sophia's eyes lit up. "Then I choose Mama too." I wiped away my tears. "I choose you too. Every day, forever. Mama, I love you. I love you too. Forever." The next morning, I headed to the CPS office. 6 months ago, I decided to return to work. Not as a music teacher, but as my former role as a social worker. Through Sophia's case, I found my mission. I sat at my desk and opened a new case file. A 5-year-old girl. Suspected abuse. I took a deep breath. I'm ready to protect this child. Just like I protected Sophia. Family isn't blood. It's choice. Every morning, I wake up and choose Sophia. Every day, James chooses to show up for Sophia. Every week, Sarah chooses to call. Lisa chooses to listen after checkups. They chose us. We chose them. That's family. Amy chose hatred. So my sister is no longer my family. And I chose to move forward. To heal. To grow. To protect other children. We survived. And now, we're living. Really, truly living. That's what real family does. That's what real love looks like. I opened the file and began work.